Good frost this morning. Bit of a channel update, guys. I have pulled the trigger on something like this. I'll flip you around and show you what I'm looking at on the screen because it's laughable. That is the Sony FX sign camera. $5,000 Canadian is what they want for that. What would you say if we could get the full frame version of that camera, so a sensor that's twice as big, for about $2,700, including tax, Canadian? That's what I thought you'd say. I said the same thing. Send it to me! So we've gone ahead and ordered a Sony ZV E1, which is the full-frame version of that camera, vlogging style. It will actually have more features on it than the Sony a7S III, which is their full-frame predecessor to the one we just bought, okay? So without talking a whole lot of jargon and mumbo-jumbo, you guys know that Gary has been searching for the ultimate vlogging camera. And right now we're on our phone. And I did not realize that even my a7R IV is not capable, or my AX700, which are my two top cameras, of shooting at 4K 60p. Only the phone, which we are on right now, can do that. So what I've actually been doing for you guys for the last year is been filming in not 4K, sorry. No, because none of the cameras will do it. I've been filming every time we go out with my AX53 camcorder because it's the smallest one I own and it has the best stabilization. There's a gyro in there. See the lens? It actually moves around. It floats around on a gyro. I don't know if you can see it. It's actually moving right there. Okay? Anyway, best stabilization, smallest body. But again, I have to put it on HD, high definition, and 60p. None of you guys ever complain, though, that I do that. You don't even know because I render the final movies in a 4K format, which should make them look better than HD. Whether it does or not, I don't know. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, guys, I have been trying for years. There are other limitations and problems with the other cameras. That one is fine. The camcorders are fine. When you flip out the LCD screen and I'm looking at it like I'm looking at myself now, I get what I see in the recording. So I know the top of my head is cut off, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. What I don't like is all my other mirrorless cameras. When you push the record button, they zoom in. So I may set up my shot like this. I push record, and then you get this. And it's terrible. It makes filmmaking an absolute pain in the butt. Not to mention that none of the other mirrorless cameras I own have a flip around screen. So I cannot see, is the autofocus actually working? Am I in frame? It's just a nightmare. And so I toyed with buying the a7S III almost 3 years ago when it came out. And I just thought, nah, we've got enough cameras, we can make do. But really at this stage of the game, guys, for $2,700, and I'll tell you how we got that deal because that's not the deal either. The regular price for that camera is $3,000 Canadian plus tax. So still less than the $5,000 they want for the FX3. How we got this deal, and I'm going to maybe have to be shady about this, is we ordered it on Amazon warehouse deals. So it's a camera somebody bought, somebody returned. And it says that the box is damaged, moderate damage. Now I'm thinking for $2,400, this better be in almost new shape for them to be able to sell this because nobody's going to want a camera that shows signs of damage for $2,400. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it. I've got about 9 different ideas of lenses and things I want to test with it. And that will determine whether we're going to actually keep it or buy it or what happens. If it's in good enough shape, we're just going to keep it. You know, this is one of those deals that Gary's like, we can't pass this up. And I'm thinking of it as a rental. Okay, if this thing comes in and it's all beat up, We're sending it back, but we're going to keep it for a few days first and test all my lenses and see what works with it. How good is it? Everybody raves about this camera, okay? It has software features in it that none of the other cameras have. A stabilization system in it that no other cameras have called active dynamic stabilization. So we get gimbal-like steadiness while doing handheld shots. And that just means we need a really wide lens because it's going to use the Sony cameras have something called clear image zoom. And what that is it allows you to zoom in digitally and still retain your full megapixels. So if I have my A7R4 as a 60 megapixel camera, you would think if you zoom in digitally, you press the shutter button, take your picture, you're not going to get a 60 megapixel picture. But you do, because Sony does voodoo magic. They actually take that zoomed in image, interpolate it, upscale it, and output a 60 megapixel image. And I've just lost half of you guys because you don't know or care what I'm talking about. Let's just put it this way, guys. Clear image zoom is something amazing. The only downside to it always was that when you used clear image zoom, your autofocus went to a green box around the outside of the frame, and you could not track anything. You could not touch the screen to focus on anything. You just got a full, we're putting the scene in as best focus as we can according to the camera, and that's all there is to it. Now, with the new ZV E1, you retain a tracking autofocus, you can touch screen focus, and you get all of the upscaling benefits while in video. So you still get 4K video. Now, if we use the normal stabilization on the camera, and it might be good enough, I don't know. We know we can get gimbal-like steadiness with that active dynamic setting. But if we just use 4K active, and if that's good enough, there's no crop. So basically, I'll turn the camera on, and what we get in the screen, what I'm looking at when I press record, boom, that's what we're going to get. And as a filmmaker, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. So now, we may have to get a little dirty with Amazon on this, because what will happen is if this camera shows up and it's really beat up and it's not, I'm not super picky. If this thing has a scratch on it, I don't care. Okay? As long as there's no dents, as long as the stabilization works, as long as it looks like it's 95% new or 90% new even, you know what? For $600 off plus the tax, so you probably saved about $900 total, I'll keep it. But if it has to go back, Gary will simply buy a new one, and then it will go back. You know what I'm saying? See? I'm smiling, but read my lips. You know what I'm saying? It's going to go back. One way or another, it's going back. And we're going to end up with that camera for that price. Don't tell me you wouldn't do it. So why am I so interested in the new camera, guys? I would like to add cinema back to my channel, okay? Filming on the phone, and this new phone is great. It's as good as it gets. Watch. Here's the cinema I can do with the phone. There it is. That's the cinema. Did you notice that the background went a little blurry there? The camera will fake a blurred out background as if we were using a large censored camera. It's okay. It's just not the same. And then I've come up with a bunch of other things that, guys, for the price, really, if you're into filmmaking, $2,700, these are some things we need to test. Okay? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We want to test, Sony has an LAEA5 adapter for all of the old A-mount lenses. So now that we have clear image zoom, which retains autofocus, does the new camera also retain autofocus in movie mode with that adapter? None of the other cameras would, and I can't find anything out online about that. So that's one thing I want to do. I want to use my 17-28 Tamron lens, which I only use occasionally right now. I'm hoping that $1,300 lens is going to become a staple on the new camera. It's going to become the new vlogging lens. So I don't need to, it's not the tiniest lens, but it's a very clear lens, to f2.8, and it sits probably 75% of the time it sits in my cupboard over there. So I'm hoping that, hey, we can use some gear that we already own. I want to do tests. I have an ND filter for that lens, 77mm filter set. We can try that. I want to use the new camera on the Kowa scope. Okay, I want to try 60p 4K and 120p 4K. Oh yeah, you can do 120 4K with this new camera, which is going to allow super slow motion. And again, only a 1.1 times crop. And it doesn't matter if we're zoomed in on the big long scope. A little bit of a crop is good. It gets you closer to the wildlife. Can we slow down, birds and deer and things like that? And how is that going to look for our nature stuff? So I'm really excited to try the new camera on the scope. I have an old APS-C 24mm lens. When we put the camera in dynamic mode, guys online are saying that the smaller APS-C lenses work fantastic. I've got one with stabilization that sits in the cupboard again. I don't use it. That possibly could be our new vlogging lens as well. I want to do a test with the Samyang f1.8 for low light. This camera is apparently a monster in low light. We want to do some tests with the f8 mirror lenses. What kind of cool video can we get with that strange donut bokeh we get with our 500mm mirror lenses? In video mode, 4K, 60p, bring it on. Also, I want to test the Tamron 150 to 500 with stabilization. Right now on my current cameras, the stabilization in video mode is kind of terrible. It jerks around. So it's not smooth. You move the camera, it jerks. It's almost like moving in steps. So hopefully the new camera will resolve those issues as well. And finally, the last thing I want to do is I want to play around with color grading, because the new camera has a feature which I've never heard of, is we can actually import LUTs, which are color sets, okay? Color sets, let's just call them that. And so you can have a moonlit evening or a sunny beach or whatever, different tones, and you can download other people make LUTs, okay? And we can film at a very high color bit rate, 10-bit, and the camera will apply these LUTs. I can download them for free. I can pay for some if I want, and it will save me time in the end processing. I don't have to color grade my own stuff, which I don't do a lot of right now, but the camera will do it all for me. I just pick the LUT that I like, want to use, record an S-Log, and choose this LUT, and it will apply it to everything we record. So again, guys, it's geek out stuff, but in terms of for a filmmaker, putting this stuff in the hands of the common man for $3,000, it's crazy. 5 years ago, that camera would have cost you $15,000, and it would not have had the features that this new camera has. Now, the only downside to this ZV E1 is that it can overheat when filming in 4K 60 or 120. You can record for about an hour, and then there's a chance that if you're in 30-degree temperatures, it's going to overheat. I live in Canada, guys. I don't have to worry about that. I'm pretty sure. We'll do some tests. We'll see. I bet you I can record until the memory card is full on this thing up here in Canada. Most of the time, we're around 22 degrees to 25. It's becoming more common. Unfortunately, 30 degrees. Yeah, we had a few days we were up there, but most of the time, not in Canada. No. So the new camera shows up tomorrow, guys. I have lots of ideas of things we can do with it. I'm actually writing a couple little movies that we can... I've got some ideas about bringing the cinema back to this channel. So we're going to do that. I'm going to put more effort into final product. We're still going to do a lot of vlog stuff, and that's going to make my life easier as well. But when I want to get creative, I feel that I will have the tools, without having to buy external monitors and all that stuff, because I don't want to get into that. I just want to flip the flippy screen around and see myself and say, yeah, I'm getting this shot. And hopefully this camera is going to do that for us. So just a bit of an excited update from this guy, because I'm super excited. Let's try this thing out, see how it goes.